Hello and welcome to Women Who Write and Rada Publishing House. We're here together today with Gila, Nehemia, and myself, Rada Nelia. And we felt it was very important to come on today and just share about being creative, even in the face of adversity. Welcome, Gila.
Thank you so much, Radha. So happy to be here with you. And it's such a great topic, I think, because so many of us are facing external, internal, all sorts of different challenges, and we don't always talk about them. So
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a really important topic. And yeah, I'm happy to share with you.
Yes, please. I know that I mean, I don't want to speak for you, but I would love for you to share anything that you'd like. And the fact that you are going to be co-leading this, Radiant Sutra sensual poetry writing course, and you're stepping into this despite what's been going on. And if you feel inclined to share, feel free. And yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, as many of you might know, if you've been following our podcast, or if you're new to it, I live in Israel. I'm originally from New York, and I've lived here for about 10 years. And currently, there is a war going on, especially in the northern part of Israel, which I am currently living in. And it's disconcerting. You hear these booms every once in a while. I'm not a person who likes to read the news, but when your children are have to stay at home because they can't get to a shelter within 15 seconds, you have to really think about where what's going on. It's in your face.
Mhm.
I think as spiritual, people who've been on the spiritual path, we like to be positive. We like to understand that there's a higher force and that's guiding us. Um, eh, though, which is true. I think all that is true. And sometimes you wonder, like, why is this happening? Why why don't people come to some conclusion? Like in this particular case, it's just been going on for many, many years. And it's hard to see that there is a path of peace. Though I feel that for me personally, it's definitely disturbing. It's like disturbing me in work. It's disturbing my sleep. It's
Mhm.
disturbing. It's not
Mhm.
it's not something that I can put away, or I can
Yeah.
compartmentalize in my mind, and rationalize it out. Like there's no reason.
There's no reason. Yeah, exactly. And you have your children that are, they're going to school, your daughter's in the military, is that correct?
Yeah, I have a daughter in the military, which it's also disturbing there because she
Mhm.
hears more, it's closer to actually where all the action is happening, which is also scary as a parent, because
Yeah.
you can't say no. You give your child to the army and you hope for the best. She's not a fighter, but still, every child that goes to the army, you don't know what's going to happen. So
Yeah.
that's heavy on the heart. Though, so that's when I pray. That's when all we can do, right, is pray. We create, a protective barrier for our children through our heart space, and through connection with them, and sharing that we love them and care for them. But you have to let them go, right? You have to
Mm.
release them, and the same token.
Wow.
So yeah, it's definitely difficult. But as a friend of mine today said, there is always a silver lining, right?
Mhm.
Some way, somehow, in every situation. I don't know if that's a rationalization. I'm just being honest. But I do think that I do believe we're here for a purpose. I'm here. I was here for a purpose. And sometimes I don't know what that is,
Mhm.
but I have to follow what feels good in my heart and in my gut. And if I feel like I need to leave, that's also something I need to follow. I think that's
Yeah.
part of why we're here today, right? To share that sometimes we make difficult decisions, or decisions we make don't always turn out as we planned.
Mhm.
And when do we pivot? When do we change? When do we think that what's good for me and my family, or is not always good for the country or your work, but it
Yeah.
doesn't matter, right?
Yeah.
What matters is what you feel and what you do next.
Exactly. It's choosing the highest for the highest and best good. And if you have children, that's your children, And also, I wanted to touch on, despite the fact that you're really facing a lot in front of you, and I just want to give you a big hug and just I would wish we could have tea and just chat and hang out in person, and I feel that will happen. And
Yeah, I think it will
but
happen.
I think so. But in the meantime, I want to just, talk about how do you find the space, the grace to continue in your art? Because you are an erotic poetry teacher, and that's what you've been doing for a long time. You've led people through groups, through programs, and now you're going to be teaching in this Radiant, Sutras Sensual Poetry program in October, and I really, really admire you for you're showing up even through it all. And I want to talk about how inconvenient it is sometimes to do our art or to feel we're not in the mood because we have so much coming at us. It's just maybe there's times there's no inspiration when we're facing adversity, which you are. So please share with us how you
Thank
see
you.
your way through.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great question, and it's not. And I want to just share even before I talk about my own personal life is like that sometimes adversity comes in ways that are not apparent. Like I'm apparently in a physical, there's a physical war going on, and I'm in the midst of it. Um, but sometimes, we don't know what the reason is, and we still can't get out of bed and create, or sit at the desk or write on the paper.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's all related. Sometimes it's apparent, sometimes it isn't. But I think that and it is hard for me sometimes even, to just carve out some time to connect with you and Selma, who's also going to be joining us in the course. And but when I do, as I told you earlier, I always feel better, because I'm with people that love me and that care, and that also and it allows me to go into the space of creation. And actually sometimes in between, all the chaotic noises and stuff that we hear, there's silence. And I live in a place that has a lot of trees, and it's actually very, very quiet. So I begin to actually appreciate those moments, that and through that appreciation comes, an inspiration, that when we can just be thankful for the moments of peace, the moments of silence, those are the moments of creation for me.
Mm.
um and I think it's maybe an inspiration for anyone who's listening or who may be facing this, like when what really helps you to create. Everyone has different what's the word, you know different inspirations for why and how they create, spaces that they need, different spaces. For me, it's silence and stillness,
Mm.
um, and just like being, just being in the moment, meditation. So that's actually helps me to, honestly, I'll tell you a real honest thing. My dog is really scared. She has a lot of anxiety, and
Mm.
all these noises takes her to the bomb room, the shelter that I have in my house all the time. She just runs there.
Wow.
So I talked to the vet this morning, and she said, "Why don't you try some deep breathing exercises with her?" And I did that. I was actually deep breathing with her today. She sat calmly with me for like a minute. But but what I noticed was when I was doing taking those deep breaths with her, I also began to feel calm.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't, it's for her, but it's also for me.
Yes, yes. It's that connection because we are so connected. We're connected to the ones we love deeply. We feel
Hmm.
their anxiety as they feel ours as well. And so when we can take that moment and center in, and it's like like you being present with your dog, I think that's so amazing. I think more people should do that, no matter what. Like, let's breathe with our dogs. Yesterday, my little guy, Lucky, he has some issues because he had been thrown from a car, so he had some wounding on his stomach, which has healed up, but I guess I guess there's still some agitation. So he keeps biting his stomach and ripping his skin open. And I have to like, I got some Manuka honey. I'm going to bandage him up again today so that the wounds can completely close. But the point is that yesterday I had to put hydrogen peroxide on him. So I had to breathe with him like, okay, let's take a breath together. It's okay, just like talking him through it because he was having a lot of anxiety about this hydrogen peroxide on his stomach. And it's like as I was breathing with him and calming him down, I also felt this deep calmness that everything is going to be okay and that the wounds are going to heal. And it was very metaphoric moment because, we have to slow down and breathe and calm ourselves and the people we love. And that's how we heal. That's how we self-soothe and coming back into this, Radiant Sutras, beautiful, beautiful poetry event that we're doing. We're also going to be starting off our sessions with Selma breathing into the space, and I'm really excited about that because I feel when we come together and breathe together and soothe together and drop in together, something amazing happens. I feel like this switch, it's a different it's just so much deeper, and it's almost like sometimes it's helpful if we hold space for others, and sometimes we also could use others to hold space for us.
Yeah, that's so true. Coming back to the poetry that you mentioned earlier and you just mentioned now, I think it's like when we can drop in together and feel just the energy of others and just feeling our bodies relax,
Mm-hmm.
then you feel that creativity just bubbling up from you, even if it's just a couple of words,
Mm-hmm.
or it's just an idea or a thought or a visual. It takes me to the place, and I'm not saying it's an escape, but I think it's for me at least, it's the ability to create peace in a world of chaos.
Mm-hmm.
And like it becomes your safe haven, and I think that's what art is for many people, right? It's their safe space to express themselves, which is what this course is all about. It's about how do we express ourselves deeply and stand in our power and believe in our dreams and not get caught up in whatever's going on around us.
Mm-hmm.
uh, Realize that all of those things that you stand for, that you believe in, that you are called to do, um, are can be witnessed by others, and
Yeah.
they can assist you in your path. I feel like we are the guides. We're guiding each other, and that's why I'm so committed to doing this work with you.
Wow. I have to say, like, I just admire you so much. In the face of this great adversity, you are stepping up and stepping in and you're showing up and I want to speak to those out there who, maybe you're feeling a lot of pressure in your life, a lot of stress, a lot of adversity. But you're an artist, you're a poet. Maybe you have something inside of you that wants to express. And so, Gila, I'd love for you to share, like, because you're in it, you're in the thick of it. So maybe you have some advice for those who are in the thick of it in a different way, and they want to express themselves, but they feel they don't have the time now. They can't do it right now because they have too much going on right now. And what would you say to that?
Um, so I can just say some of the things that I have experienced myself, and I've also, coached others. I feel like number one, like rest is really underrated. Like we feel like we don't have enough time to do all the things that we want to do, or even just to get through our regular day, right? But I
Yeah.
think that, and there's a lot of overwhelm. Like perhaps, like I'm, my children are a bit older, but when I was a young mother, or when I was younger and my children were young, it felt a lot harder, because like we want to be responsible. We want to. I think the issue is control. Honestly, to be quite honest,
Mhm.
I think we want to control. We want everyone to be okay, and we want to be okay. But there's only so much you can do. And I think what I'm trying to say is that you do what you can, and have your children, or whoever you're with, whatever those responsibilities are, to have get help, get people to help you, and also create the space, like candles, do something to create a feeling of calmness, like at least before you go to bed, and rest. And
Mhm.
maybe sometimes resting is just lying down without sleeping, or just sitting still for 5 minutes. That could be a form of rest. But I feel like the rest, um, could help you to just relax.
Mhm.
Because I feel there's a lot of tension, and I get caught up in too. Like, I get caught up in anxiety and all the things that I have to do. But then when I just like take a moment, take a breath, do some breathing exercises, or do some yoga, you know, meditation, lie down, even just walk in nature. All those things really rejuvenate me, even if it's just for 5 minutes. Or even a 10-minute nap. Sometimes I do that during work because I work at home, and sometimes I can have a half an hour at least. So I might just take a lie down and take a nap. And it really just helps me to like get through the day. That those would be a few things that I would suggest.
Yes, that's so beautiful. And the breathing too. I think, stop and taking a deep, breath, and being with others, you know, like us, we're all going through different things in our life, and coming together in a space that is curated for your experience, where you're held and loved, and also you're able to express yourself. And I think that's important. Like, we need more sacred spaces where our voices can come through, and our voices of concern, as well as our voice of our inner divine wisdom, because I feel that as we are heightening in the duality of the earth experience, because we really are, it's really, really heightening. And a lot of people, they want to bypass that and say, oh, we've transcended it all, but we have not yet. We have yet to face the shadows, and we are just starting to, as a collective. And so it's really imperative that we have these sacred spaces that we can speak into, that we can be guided into, and that we can find our deepest voice, and really manifest into, because this is pure energy that we're all experiencing, whether there's a moment of anxiety or stress or pain or joy or bliss, or whatever the spectrum may be, it's all energy. And so we have to learn to harness that energy, and then we can transmute it into something beautiful. Art, to me, is one of the greatest forms of therapy. We're actually moving that energy into words. We're moving our expression. When we write, when we speak, we are able to transmute a lot of stuff, and we're pulling up the gems from our experiences, from our longing, from our desires, and especially in this class. And sometimes we forget our desires and our longings when we have a lot of pressure applied in our life. And this space is a space where we get to unwind together. And so I'm really, really happy about you and Selma at the helm. And I think it's really precious that we have Selma because she has this incredible crone wisdom. And there's something to be said about crone wisdom that this world desperately needs more of, because the crone wisdom has been through all the cycles. And so she can speak from that place and breathe from that place. And she's birthed a lot in her life. And so I feel a calmness too in Selma's presence, don't you?
Yeah, definitely. It's so even just the way she speaks, her mannerisms, there's just motherly, divine, feminine, rooted, grounded person. And I feel that there was one time I think recently that I talked to her, and she really helped me to just just her caring, just really helped
Mhm.
me to relax.
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm really happy about that. And I also wanted to say that, for those of you who are interested in this course, you know, sometimes because we're so busy, because we have so many things that are going on, it feels like we can't do it. Or, how are we going to get to that pace of longing and desire? I like can't get through my day, right?
Mhm.
I totally hear you, but I think that as you go through this course and as we go through each session, we'll unwind together, and it's okay to have rage, it's okay to have anger, it's okay to have other emotions. But
Mhm.
under those emotions, as we uncover them and we release them, we can open up into a power. We can transmute that into a power that you can utilize. And I
Mhm.
think artists do that, and I always like admire that. Sometimes, I had a poem that was called Rage, but
Mhm.
when I released that rage, there was just a lot of love that was coming out. Just a lot of other emotions had space to open, is what I'm trying to say. Um, and also I think that sensuality has isn't just like kind of it's not just one-sided. There's like many sides to everything.
Yeah.
So if anyone who's listening who you're like, well, I don't know how to write that kind of poetry. um it's not about knowing how. It's not a mental exercise, right? Art is an expression, like you said. Art is expansive.
Mhm.
Uh it, it it you can create a space that is right for you, and we're holding that container for you to blossom as a person and also as a community, as a group. So I think it's twofold at what we're doing here, and as a movement, because we really believe in love and in and rooting that into your power, into your
Mhm.
authenticity. And I think those are, there are many things that'll come out of this course, but that's definitely one of them.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It is high time that we take everything and transmute it into our highest good, for our highest good. Energy is energy, and a lot of times I feel like it's, a lot of energy is loosed out of us, and instead of letting it be loosed out of us, we can say, hey, this is powerful. These emotions are powerful, and we're gonna redirect them into our art. So it's kind of like harnessing our energy, because it's our life force. And if we don't redirect it, it can be a loss of life force. And so I just see the beauty and the magic of us all coming together and being in this sacred space and really allowing what's deep, deep inside of us, the gems that are underneath everything else, to come forward. Anybody can be a poet, you know.
Right.
What would you say on that? Because you've led a lot of people through erotic poetry, and I'd love to hear about the different, levels of poets and how, I mean, I think poets are birthed through these spaces.
Yeah, I totally agree. Not everyone openly always share their poems. Some people were, were natural poets, and others, were more like closet, like they wrote in their journals, and they always write in their journals, but it's hard to share. But they would share with me, and I think because the space was created, and there were some people who were painters. There were some people who were expressing their art through words, and we still had a connection because through the conversations, through other people sharing their writing, they got inspired. So that's, it's another avenue. But you know what? I think we've said this to each other. For me, like creating poetry, Selma, I know, has definitely said this to me, is that it's through like images,
Mm-hmm.
images in our mind that we begin to put on paper in whatever format works. It doesn't have to be like even, right to left. It can have shapes. I think some people I know have done that too. And so I think and some people create like a lot of white space between
Mm-hmm.
their work. Like it's just really fascinating. What makes them feel creative, what the motivation behind it, and also the way that they express it.
Mm-hmm.
And some people it's really hard, they write a lot of prose, but then they can find that sometimes poetry, which is for me, I just found it. I never thought I could write it either. And so, coming from a person who really never wrote poetry until like, I don't know, about maybe 5 or 6 years ago, uh, look at that. You know, I was always like fascinated by poems because they spoke to me in such few words. And I think also there's all, people think it's structured, like it has to rhyme, or it has to have like all these rules, but you don't have to. So I think when I think what I've used in all of my sessions with people is that it's not a place of rules, it's a place of safety, it's a place of expressing your emotion, it's a place of holding a container and being truly connected with our hearts.
Mm,
And through that, we just allow whatever blossoms to continue to blossom.
that's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. I can feel all the love and passion that's in this group and all the poetry that's going to be birthed and that will be leading to a beautiful sensual poetry book. So it's very exciting. We have the opportunity to share our poems with the world if we like, and if we don't, we can keep them in our journals, in the safety of our journals, and there's no pressure. It's just for our own expression, our own joy. I think sometimes we enjoy to keep some things for ourselves, and sometimes we love to share our work into the world because there's a beauty in that. I love Rumi. He's one of my favorite, poets, and his work is in the world, and I get to enjoy his work long after his life here, because it lives on through his work. And I think he's a beautiful example of a poet who was very generous in his work, and it really inspires me today. Are you aware of course you're aware of Rumi, yeah.
Oh, I love Rumi. Rumi actually comforted me through many of my challenging times. And he through, as far as I've read, has gone through adversity, have gone through
Mhm.
deep heartbreak. And I actually think adversity does really it I think everyone goes through it, in various forms, and I think it creates a fertile ground for any kind of artist, especially writers, but any artist. And I think we shouldn't, or I would advise you not to shun away, like run away from the adversity, but to step into it. Because I
Mhm.
think that's actually what's helping me. I'm stepping into it. I'm acknowledging that this is happening.
Mhm.
I realize that this is not like a normal situation. But I do know that whatever I decide to do with that, and I write about it, I write to myself. Sometimes I don't write every day, but
Mm-hmm.
I do definitely, journal and whatever comes to me, the inequality or whatever it is that's coming up in my mind, or when in my talks with other people, I do share that with myself. And I think that's a great way as well, in terms of person, if you're going through adversity, is to use it as a stepping stone to through your art, through whether it's words or painting or you know gardening, whatever it is you know you find solace in. Utilize that, because basically that's what we said before, right? Transmute that energy.
Mm-hmm.
And when we do it as a group, it's an even greater force that I
Yes.
think brings so much more peace, serenity, and power.
Oh, well said. Yes, this is it amplifies the power of, two or more coming together, create something even more magnificent. And I just wanted to read a short Rumi poem to end us with.
Mhm.
If you're not in love, you have missed your goal. He calls. The breeze of love must find your soul. Glory resurrected you. Glory made you whole. If you're not in love, life has passed you by. And that is from the book Love is My Savior, by poems by Rumi. And, again, that love could be many things. That love could be for our children. It could be for, you know, animals. We could have love for writing poetry. That love is a passion. We all have a burning passion inside of us, and we can channel it for our highest and best good in many different ways. But we don't want to let that fire go out, because that's what makes us alive.
Yeah, so well said. Thank you for sharing that beautiful, beautiful poem. And that fire, when you can join that fire that's burning, whether it's just just burning on the coals, or it is like a volcano. When we join that together, we create a blaze that is unstoppable. And I feel like that's part of our intention for this course, is to really open up those faucets and let that ripple out into the universe, to move to
Mm,
move this energy through, and we'll each see what that brings us, both together and as a group, when we start.
thank you so much for coming on today. I really appreciate you, Gila. Thank you for all that you are, and as a sister, as a erotic poetry teacher, and it's as an inspiration. You inspire me very much. So thank you so much for being here with us today. And for those of you interested in joining us, I believe we start this October. Is it the 26th, Gila?
Yeah, we start on the 26th, every
Great.
2 weeks.
Yeah, so we'll be meeting twice a month all the way to February 1st. And we lovingly invite you, wherever you are in your life, whatever is going on, you are welcome, you are accepted, and you are held in reverence. So thank you for tuning in today. And until next time, much love. Bye for now.
Bye bye.